The great symbol of freedom lies broken, drowning beneath the cold and dark Atlantic waves. Her torch that once lit the world is extinguished forever, a silent witness to the end of this era. Times Square is no longer a place of light, but has become a dark graveyard of steel and glass. A massive wall of water, 100 meters high, stands vertically, completely blocking the distant horizon. This is not a Hollywood blockbuster movie. This is the absolute worst nightmare that humanity has ever faced. A massive cargo ship is hurled inland by the waves, crashing violently into a glass office building. The Brooklyn Bridge, the pride of American architecture, is buckling and snapping like a fragile thread before the storm. Millions of tons of salt water are tearing through the streets, crushing everything in its path into fine dust. Desperate screams are instantly drowned out by the insane roaring of the ocean that is unleashed in fury. Scientists have warned us for the past 50 years, but nobody was willing to listen to them at all. The Cumbre Vieja volcano island has collapsed, releasing destructive energy equivalent to hundreds of atomic bombs. The shockwave travels at the speed of a jet plane, tearing through the ocean surface to find its target. And now, New York City has only 30 short minutes remaining before it is completely wiped out. What will you do when the familiar horizon vanishes behind a towering wall of water? No way back, no shelter left, only the survival instinct rising up stronger than ever before. Skyscrapers are shaking, shattering glass falling down like a deadly rain of diamonds. The entire city's power grid flickers and dies, plunging humanity into the darkness of despair. History will remember today as the day nature reclaimed everything that belonged to it. Tsunami 2026. The last 30 minutes before New York collapses. Fasten your seatbelts, because our journey into the eye of the storm begins right now. The morning in Manhattan begins with the familiar bustling rhythm of millions of people starting their new day. Office workers walk briskly on the sidewalk, holding hot coffee, completely unaware of anything happening soon. But at the Tsunami Warning Center, screens are turning red, signaling the highest alert level possible. Deep-sea sensors record a massive pressure change unprecedented in human history, triggering immediate catastrophic warnings. At New York Harbor, a strange phenomenon begins as seawater recedes at breakneck speed away from the shore. The Hudson riverbed is exposed, docked ships suddenly stranded, tilting helplessly on the thick black mud. Seagulls at Battery Park fly wildly into the sky, screaming miserably as if signaling bad omens to come. The city's noise is gradually drowned out by a low-pitched hiss echoing ominously from the distant horizon. A blurry white streak appears where sky meets sea, growing larger and more distinct every single second. People standing on the coast freeze, realizing it is not clouds, but a massive wall of water approaching. The massive Verrazano Narrows Bridge is the very first obstacle to face the sheer fury of the ocean. The wave, tens of meters high, slams into the bridge deck, tearing steel cables like mere threads. The reinforced concrete structure crumbles, dragging hundreds of vehicles into a freefall into the swirling water. After swallowing the bridge, the water monster continues rushing towards Upper New York Bay with undiminished speed. The wall of water collides with Liberty Island, instantly submerging the small island in a fraction of a second. The Statue of Liberty shakes violently, her copper skin crumpled by the horrific pressure of the water. In a heartbreaking moment, the arm holding the torch snaps off, falls, and vanishes beneath the murky water. The tsunami does not stop. It charges straight into the financial heart of the world, Lower Manhattan. It is not like an ocean wave, but like a giant liquid sledgehammer smashing into the skyscrapers. The lush green Battery Park vanishes instantly under millions of tons of black water and debris. Water floods the concrete canyons, turning New York streets into fast-flowing rivers of death. Cars parked on the street are swept away like useless plastic toys in the current. A double-decker bus is lifted by the current, crashing violently into the lobby of an office building. At Wall Street, the crowd-charging bull statue is now completely submerged beneath the murky water. The New York Stock Exchange, the fortress of capitalism, has its main doors breached and flooded by water. Inside the exchange, electronic screens short-circuit, sparking and popping before sinking into darkness. Banknotes and important documents float aimlessly on the water, now rendered completely meaningless. The external water pressure is so immense that the skyscraper windows shatter simultaneously. Glass shards fall like rain, mixing with the angry, swirling water raging below. The New York subway system, the city's bloodstream, turns into the most horrific, deadly trap. Millions of cubic meters of water thunder down into the dark tunnels with unstoppable force. A moving train is stopped dead by the water, slamming violently against the concrete tunnel walls. The lights inside the train car flicker and go out completely, leaving total darkness and terror. Water rises to the third, then the fifth floor of buildings, washing away a lifetime of accumulated assets. Substations explode, creating bizarre green fireballs on the surface of the black water. The coastal defense seawall system is completely useless against the absolute power of nature. Salt water infiltrates the foundations of old buildings, eroding the soil structure underneath. A red brick apartment building begins to tilt, creating chilling cracking sounds. It collapses like a domino, crushing neighboring structures in a cloud of blinding dust. The sound of metal grinding against metal echoes through the city, mixing with the growl of the water. Survivors trapped on high floors can only look down at the murky river in despair. Nowhere left to run, the city is now a water labyrinth with no exit. Electronic billboards in Times Square still flicker frantically before sinking under the water. Mannequins from fashion stores float on the water, looking disturbingly like dead bodies. A rescue helicopter tries to approach, but is swatted down by gale force winds into the buildings. The legendary Brooklyn Bridge cannot withstand the weight of the water and begins to snap section by section. The bridge's ancient granite towers crack and collapse, creating secondary waves. All communication efforts are cut off. The city is completely isolated from the outside world. Fires begin to break out on the water surface due to fuel leaking from destroyed gas stations. Black smoke billows into the sky, mixing with storm clouds to create an apocalyptic scene. Large ships are pushed deep inland by the waves, sitting precariously between buildings. JFK Airport is completely flooded. Airplanes turn into drifting boats. Inside buildings, water breaches elevator doors, free-falling down the shafts, creating chilling sounds. Libraries and museums holding human knowledge are now submerged in mud. A grand piano floats out of a theater, making random sounds as it collides with debris. Hospitals must evacuate urgently, but the power outage throws everything into chaos. The entire city of New York shakes as if undergoing a violent earthquake. The water reaches its peak, turning the first and second floors of the entire city into an underwater world. Human arrogance has been shattered by nature in less than 30 minutes. This is the true face of the apocalypse: cold, brutal, and utterly unforgiving. The water settles into a thick, toxic sludge, covering what was once a bustling metropolis. The city's transportation system is completely paralyzed. Not a single vehicle can move anywhere. Subway ventilation grates erupt with water like massive geysers in the middle of the street. Compressed air pressure in the tunnels blasts manhole covers into the sky like artillery shells. Grand Central Terminal, an architectural masterpiece, has now become a massive reservoir of wastewater. Thousands of people stranded on rooftops wave desperately towards distant helicopters that cannot help. Sirens wail everywhere, but no rescue forces can physically access the disaster scene. Roads that were once vital arteries are now severed by deadly, fast-flowing currents. The mobile phone network collapses completely, leaving millions in a terrifying silence. No internet, no news. Rumors of the apocalypse begin to spread among the panicked crowd. Supermarkets and grocery stores on higher floors are looted clean by the starving crowds. Civilization disappears, giving way to the law of the jungle and primal survival instincts. Hospitals operate in darkness. Life support machines shutting down as power runs out. Clean water sources are contaminated by salt and pollution, becoming the second threat after the tsunami. The smell of gasoline, leaking gas, and decomposition begins to rise pungently in the air. Massive fires spread uncontrollably, burning down buildings that were not submerged by water. Police and military watch helplessly as the city drowns in a sea of water and fire simultaneously. Remaining bridges leading out of the city are gridlocked, becoming massive parking lots. People try to swim through the freezing water, but many are swept away forever. Temperatures drop deeply as night falls, bringing bone-chilling cold to the survivors. Flashlights and flares become the only sources of light in a city that used to never sleep. At zoos, cages are destroyed and wild animals escape, swimming amidst the floodwaters. Banking systems and financial data on Wall Street are at risk of being completely wiped out. Glass skyscrapers now look like dry skeletons rising from the surface of the water. Plastic waste, chemicals, and animal carcasses create a deadly mixture floating everywhere. The elderly and children are the most vulnerable victims in this unfolding tragedy. The sound of helicopters buzzing in the sky, but they cannot find a safe place to land. Upstream dams are also threatened, with the risk of a double dam failure hanging overhead. The only fragile hope is that the water level begins to show signs of receding slowly. But what is revealed as the water recedes will be a sight even more horrifying than death. Historic buildings hundreds of years old have been completely wiped off the city map. The Washington Monument in the distance is also submerged, another symbol of America falling. Silence covers everything, leaving only the sound of trickling water and wind whistling through broken frames. Luxury cruise ships now sit stranded in the middle of avenues, rusting and useless. The collapse of New York will drag the global economy into recession for decades. Humans realize that money cannot buy safety from Mother Nature. Search and rescue efforts begin to organize, but the scale of the disaster is too massive. Temporary refugee camps are set up on high ground, where thousands wait in hopelessness. A new world is forming from the ruins, harsher and more ruthless than before. No one knows what tomorrow brings, but they know the old life has ended forever. Towers that once touched the clouds are now just monuments to a lost civilization. Dawn breaks, illuminating a dead city where silence replaces the sound of car horns. Flooded streets reflect the sunlight like shattered mirrors. This is Earth's final warning to humanity. Respect nature or face extinction. We built castles on sand, and now is the time for the tide to wash them away. The fall of New York is not just the end of a city, but the beginning of a dark era. Survivors begin the long journey searching for dry land, leaving everything behind. History turns a page today, a page written with tears and immense loss. Goodbye, New York, city of dreams, now only a city of nightmares. The night slowly fades, giving way to a cold dawn shining upon the ruins of a dead megacity. Silence blankets the space. Where traffic horns once blared, only wind whistles through broken window frames. A mud-stained teddy bear lies abandoned on the sidewalk, a witness to the childhood dreams that are lost. From within the rubble, weary figures step out, beginning the search for life amidst the death. Humans do not surrender. Scratched hands begin clearing debris piece by piece to rebuild from scratch. Weeds begin to sprout from concrete cracks, as nature always knows how to heal its own wounds. The Statue of Liberty, though no longer intact, still stands there as a reminder of human resilience. We have learned the most expensive lesson. This civilization is far more fragile than we ever imagined. New York may rise again, but the scars of today will be forever etched into world history. And as the sun sets once again, we understand that the era of arrogance has officially ended.